Hi there, fellow GOV635 classmates. This is Alex Mitzel again, checking in for our final video discussion board. The discussion for this week, week 8 of our course, Professor McCarthy asked us to consider character and principle in relation to the office of the president while applying what we've learned in weeks 1 through 7 of our class. So let's take a look at the discussion question that Professor McCarthy posed to us. He asks, over the course of this term, we have seen an evolution in styles of presidential leadership. We have seen successes and failures. Considering the various groups that the president must persuade in order to be an effective leader, how do you see a character and a commitment to principle impacting presidential leadership? So to answer this question, I'll look at some of the major points that we've looked at for this course so far, and then discuss how they relate to character and commitment to principle in relation to the presidency. If you recall the earliest weeks in our course, Richard Neustadt gave us some of the major themes for our course, his main point being that presidential power is weak. The president in and of himself does not hold a major source of power the way a monarchy or dictatorship does. Along those same lines, Neustadt taught us that presidential power is the power to persuade. In order to be an effective leader, the president has to master the art of persuasion. Therefore, the president's professional reputation and his public prestige, so the way insiders in Washington expect him to react, and then his support outside of Washington. These will have an effect on his bargaining power with different audiences. So a president's character and his commitment to principle will come into play with these attributes while working to persuade different groups. So returning to our question, considering the various groups that the president must persuade in order to be an effective leader, how do you see character impacting presidential leadership? So character definitely has an impact on presidential leadership, and I look at a few different groups here. So while campaigning to be elected, the American people make judgments of a candidate's character and how they believe it will affect the country. Therefore, a candidate has to present a character that they believe the voters will find fitting. Based on the 2016 election, when we read in Defying the Odds, it clearly doesn't have as big of an impact as it probably should, since we had to end up choosing between two historically unfit candidates, partly on the basis of their character. Character also has an impact on the folks in Congress. A president's professional reputation affects how laws and policies will be passed. His relationship with congressional colleagues will impact his administration's successfulness in pushing their agenda. We even see pushback now from Republicans in Congress, even though Trump is also a Republican. His reputation is a little bit unfit there. And this ties into the public's judgment of presidential character. He must upkeep his public prestige. The president wants to maintain the support of his constituents in order to gain or maintain control of Congress. Currently, it would be maintaining control. A president's character can also impact his reputation in the rest of the world, and this will affect how other countries deal with our government. For example, Trump's character is something out of the ordinary for us, and he was recently laughed at during a recent UN meeting because of one of his common exaggerated outbursts. Looking at the second part of the question, considering the various groups that the president must persuade in order to be an effective leader, how do you see commitment to principle impacting presidential leadership? So again, commitment to principle also has an impact definitely on presidential leadership. So looking at those same groups again, during an election, voters will judge how likely they believe a candidate is to follow through on promises and stick to his principles. If people judge a candidate to be less committed to principle, like how they judged Hillary Clinton to be untrustworthy, according to our reading in Defying the Odds, the candidate will lose support of their voters. Congress will also judge how likely a president will be to concede some of his principles when he is using his bargaining power to try to pass laws and bills. A president can also gain bipartisan support of the American people based on their commitment to principles. This is also promoting their control of Congress, similar to how I mentioned in our character slide. And a president's commitment to principle also impacts foreign affairs. Enemies will be less likely to antagonize the U.S. if they believe the likelihood of retaliation is imminent. This is unlike how Khrushchev pushed Kennedy sort of as far as he could during the Cuban Missile Crisis before that fear of retaliation became real. So, in conclusion, overall, character and commitment to principle have a big effect on presidential leadership. Um, those attributes definitely affect different audiences. I only looked at a small section here, but they can definitely be looked at on a much broader scale. But they will impact the president's most important asset, which is his power to persuade, which we learned throughout this course. So thank you for your time. I've enjoyed having discussions with you throughout this course, and I look forward to speaking with you again in future courses.